Yes, my G's, welcome back. So, today's episode, how to overcome. That's conquering addictions, vices, bad habits, how to reprogram your mind, change your habits. You're going to change your life. So, without further ado, let's get into it, man. The gap between. So, habits are an automatic behavior. I think most people know this. But if you don't, put it this way. You remember the first time that you reversed out of your driveway? It was probably quite an ordeal. I know it was for me. You're thinking this, that, the clutch control, then look the mirrors, long. But after, let's say, 3 months, it's you jump in, you're doing it with one hand, not even looking, rolling a cigarette. Now, the problem is your brain can't tell the difference between the habit of reversing with one hand, how you've learnt that. It's an automatic behavior, saved so that you can save processing power. And it can't tell the difference between that and rolling a cigarette. One of those is a positive habit, one of those is obviously a negative habit. Now, addictions are actually habits. So, smoking, rather than it being addiction, it actually is a habit. So, you can reprogram yourself. For example, you could replace smoking with a press up. So every time that you're triggered to go smoke a cigarette, something stressful is happening, you just go take yourself in the other room, bang out 20 press ups. And instead of doing that, now your frequency's gone high, you feel good, and you start to be able to replace that habit with a positive one. But we'll get on to that. So, see how I've said change your habits, change your life. Because imagine in that scenario I just gave you, you've now stopped smoking and started exercising. So you've got a better life just from changing one little thing. The traps. So, escapism is the number one cause. Not wanting to face reality. Humans are always either moving away from pain or towards pleasure. That's to put it simply. So, you're either moving away from something that hurt you or you're moving towards something that makes you feel good. Can you see how that might be a problem? Because a lot of people just try and spend all their time feeling good, but they haven't addressed the root cause of that issue. It's got many different forms: food addictions, drink, drugs, gaming, porn, smoking, people pleasing, watching TV, lying, retail therapy. All of those are negative habits. Whether society will admit that or not, they are negative habits and they are destroying you. Self sabotage. So, a lot of people, they cling to the familiar, they overestimate risk, they self medicate, they got low self esteem, they avoid change. Why is this? Because they don't want, in their heart, even if their brain wants to change, in their heart they don't. Because, no, they're clinging to the familiar. Something's happened to them to make them feel like that. Trauma. Big one. So this comes down to like coping mechanisms, avoidance, self-destructive behavior, and lack of self-trust. So if something's happened to you, it's just like they can't move past that event, and that's why they're stuck in this habitual loop. But again, we're going to get on to how you can reprogram all of that. Number 5, lack of discipline. I've seen this too. Obviously I was on the roads for a long time, and I saw a lot of men that were very disciplined and they did very well from this type of lifestyle. But then I also saw a lot of men, and they made no money. They went round in circles for years and years and years. And why was this? Because they didn't have the discipline not to smoke or do the shit that they were selling, and therefore they just couldn't move forward. So, how to actually reprogram these fucking habits. So, as you can see, I've written, it's Friday, you're bored, you're sad, you finished work early, you had an argument. These are all cues that could initiate the habit. So let's take smoking for an example. You get those people, they're stressed out, they're like, oh, I need a cigarette, because that actually makes them feel better. So what happens? Boom. Sally gives them some bad news. Tom immediately reaches for his cigarettes. So that's number 2. That's the actual habit. That's the thing you've learned to do to make yourself feel better, feel whatever. And that gets on to number 3, which is the reward. So after you smoke that cigarette, oh, I feel better now. I just needed a cigarette. That's what you tell yourself. And then that will continue going round forever until you break that cycle. And that's why they call it a cycle, because look, it's a habit loop. Now, if you take that same example I just gave you, number 1, Q. So someone's giving you some bad news. What was it? Fucking Sally or something. She's giving you some bad news. Now, instead of reaching for the cigarettes, you're like, fuck that. Bang out 20 press ups. Now you feel good about yourself. So you've got the same reward, but from a different behavior. You see how simple that is. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is how to take account. Now you have to assess your daily habits and your patterns. Now, if you use the smoking one, for example, you'd see, oh, that's a negative habit. It's giving me heart problems. Maybe I'll get cancer. I feel shit. Rare, rare, rare. So you've assessed that. Now you're going to reflect daily. So you don't want to smoke anymore. You've now replaced that habit. Number two, you've replaced it with 20 press ups. Every time you want to smoke, you're going to do 20 press ups. So in the morning, you're going to write, did I stick to what I told myself I was going to do? Did I choose to be better? Yeah, because at that point, it's conscious. You already know what's happening now. Every time you're triggered, you're going to be like, oh, smoke? No, no, no. I choose to do the press ups. And then that moves on to number 4, which is reprogramming. So you've now reprogrammed that habit by replacing the middle, number 2, and you're still getting the same reward, which is making you feel that relief, you feel better, you feel proud of yourself. Whatever it is that you were getting from smoking, you're now getting from doing 20 press ups. And now you become. So you take on that habit and you become the best version of you. You're going to master this habit, you're going to assess another one, and you're going to repeat it. And you do this until you have nothing left that's ailing you, nothing that's dragging you down, nothing that's pulling you to be that lowest version of you. And you're only having shit that serves you, that brings you to be that fucking highest version of you, where you feel incredible about yourself. Now, the one thing I haven't mentioned is all of these, if you actually repeat them, so number 1 to 5 for all your habits, what you're going to do is start building massive credit with yourself. You're going to feel so proud of yourself because you're taking charge of your life. You ain't being an on accident motherfucker. You're an on purpose motherfucker. You feel me? And that makes all the difference because you start building that credit with yourself. Like, wow, I can actually trust myself to take care of myself. I'm actually in control of my life. This is everything that I used to reprogram my whole life. How I went from being a fucking stoner that was fresh off the roads with no money, going and digging for £90 a day on a building site, fucking miserable. How I took my life from there to being a life coach, living in Thailand, financially free, helping people become their best selves in less than 2 fucking years. If I can do it, starting from -5, and you're starting from level 5, and you only want to get to 10, you can fucking do it too. Let's fucking go.